Peace and shalom. This is Unplug 'em. Good luck trying to decipher this script, but I wanted to kind of do this a little bit different. I wanted to look at the time and make sure that everything got in. I was praying about this, and I asked for the Most High to guide me and make sure that this would be beneficial to someone, especially those of you who are interested still in entering the music industry. And I did the first part the way that I did it because I wanted you to get a feel for whom the information is coming from, so you can kind of get a little understanding about my background and what gives me the authority to speak on such a subject. And of course, that authority only comes from my Lord and my Master, Yeshua HaMashiach, by way of the Father, the Most High. So after I prayed, I looked at the scripture that I had, the prominent thing that you see in the center of your screen there, 1 Samuel 16 and 23, and I went to glance over at the good book, and I thought I was looking at 16:23, and I was looking at 15:23, and the Father told me that applied as well, and this is just to show that everything is in the proper spirit, and so we're gonna cast out some devils, some misinformation, and some illusions that you may have about what you call a music business. Now, 15 and 23 says, "For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king." Now that applied directly to me. I told you a little bit about my background in the first one, because a lot of you are going to be in the same boat that I was once in. Now, we know that there is a propensity for family lines to be brought into the music business. I had just jotted down a few. And again, I didn't write in the bold this time because I really didn't intend on showing the paper. I was going to show my face like the last one, but this will help me keep everything in time and in step. But you know, the Everly brothers Johnson, Sister Sledge, Jackson 5, Winans, Clark sisters, Pointer sisters, Neville brothers, countless groups, you know, are comprised of brothers and sisters, even groups that don't have the name brothers or sister after it. You know, you got brothers and sisters involved in many, many legendary groups in rock, pop, folk, funk, all music genres. This is because we're talking about the mystical side of music production. And so we have to trace the thing back to the beginning. And that's going to be some things that predate what people will accept as biblical or scriptural information. And so we're going to go all the way back as far as we can go, and we're even going to go to ancient Egypt, or Kemet, as some have discovered, and we're going to find that in warfare and praise, in spiritual ceremony, music is key in all of these things. Now, why? It is because it sets a tone. Okay? You know, in movie music, the movie music sets a mood. In casinos, certain music is played in order to set a mood. There is a thing called elevator music, because when you're in an office building setting, they're trying to set a mood. When you go to a restaurant, there's certain music playing because they're attempting to set a mood. But most anciently, when you go to a football game, especially those of you who like college football, and I'm still yet in Ohio, where everybody is enthused about the Ohio State team, and it's a big college football town. And for college football, you know that college football games are not complete without the fight song. Well, we're from Michigan, and one of the most famous fight songs, dun, 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 Hail to the Victors. These songs are comprised of combinations of notes and melodies that are designed to make you fight. That's why it's called a fight song in the first place. It originates from armies. Football is nothing but a war game. You're in my territory. Throw the bomb. Played on a field. It's a war simulation game. And the fight songs come from how armies used to go into battle with the musicians in the front to lead forth the battle. Okay? Not only to geek up and energize the soldiers, but to scare the enemy, to call forth spiritual energies to help them fight. This was the main reason. And I'm saying these things because now, again, if you jumped on this and you saw the title, then you know what to expect. We're talking about the mystical side. So now, if you don't believe there's a mystical side of music, why are you here? But I will yet try to even show you who doubt that there is a mystical side of music production. And you who are involved in music today, you don't realize how much more mystical it is today than it was before. Now, we're under the impression that things like witchcraft and spells are something ancient, something that's no longer done. But if you do any research of John Todd, who was a man who worked for a record company, who was an employee of the music industry under Zodiac Records, and his job was as a priest who blessed, quote unquote, really cursed the master tapes. The master tapes are the tapes that records used to be pressed off of. I know today things are done digitally, and there's different processes that they use today, but it's still based on the same thing. They still have a priest, a high priest, come in and bless your digital master today. There's still a way that this is done today, and maybe we'll get off into that on another video. But I really want to close down music with this video. So we got about 22 minutes here, 22 and a half minutes, and we're going to try to really bring a picture of music to you that is devoid of illusion. When we're talking about the musician in the Egyptian royal court, he was akin to the magician. Music and magic go hand in hand. Even the very word music comes from the muse. A muse is a spiritual concept going back to ancient Greece. It was a spirit that inspires you. Inspire itself, the spire and inspire, is the root word of spirit in Latin. Jesus. But again, you have to remember that we're talking about a spiritual practice that has been made to seem as if it's totally material and base. The practice of making music is a spiritual practice, and God put it in the hands, the Most High put it in the hands of certain family lines to have this particular blessing over them, to have what you call the musical gift, or to be musically inclined. That's why you find so many folks can say, like I said in my first video, oh, well, my people play music. Now, you can trace that biblically back to Jubal. You can look at ancient history and you can find it's true. But again, if you look at the royal courts, you can find the importance of the musician was right up there with the magician, and we find that in the royal court as exemplified in the Bible in 1 Samuel 16 and 23, the royal court of King Saul, when Samuel used music to soothe Saul's foul spirit. And it says, "And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul," interesting, "that David took a harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him." Okay, now, to my heavy metal folks, don't let the genre of music that you play be so beloved to you that you ignore metaphysical scientific fact. Now, metaphysical fact you may want to quarrel with philosophically, but scientific fact, you cannot. You know that the body is 80% water, like the heavenly body that it represents, the earth, is 80% water. You come from the earth. You are as the earth is. As above, so below. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There's a parallel in nature that you find in man. So you know that sound affects nature. The roar of the lion does something to the rest of the animals in the jungle. Just like the bass from a powerful wadded amp coming through the neighborhood does something to the hood, especially based on what they may be playing. Let them play something real raunchy and disturbing, and people will be disturbed and rowdy about it, crunked up and all of that, because of the sound of the music. There are certain songs that can incite people to fight. There are songs that incite people to want to make love. Come on, let's be real. So you're wielding a power. Okay, now you might want to play with it willy-nilly and say that it's really nothing. But really and truly, if you have that gift, if you picked up a guitar and picked up the gift, or if it's in your bloodline to have that gift, this is a power, a spiritual, psychic energy power, where your mind is manipulating the natural world, the cat guts up against the wood of the guitar, because guitar strings were once made of cat gut, and we know the spiritual significance of the cat. Okay, why they use cats during Halloween, why witches are depicted with cats, why Gargamel from the Smurfs is always with his cat. His cat can see the Smurfs and find the Smurfs. Cats have a extrasensory perception where they are able to pick up on the spirit realm. They can see dimensionally. Stephen King had a movie called Cat's Eye, where all of these supernatural events were being seen only by the cat, through the eye of the cat. Those of you who are cat owners, you've seen your cat see something and run. That cat's not acting crazy. You say, crazy cat. No, crazy human. You can't see it. So there is a world all around you. And for those brothers who was raised in the Nation of Islam, that was where I began at 18. And one thing that was taught there, and not just there, but I also know it was taught among some of the gods and earths that I dealt with, the 5% nation, which sprang out of the Nation of Islam. You will find that they say, well, hey, there's no spirit realm. They said all that spookism, things that, quote unquote, the white man taught you to keep you afraid. Well, that's something that the black man is teaching you to keep you ignorant. Because we know, going all the way back to the African traditions, whether you take it back to Kemet, or whether you want to deal with Timbuktu, or however you want to slice it, as far as you can go back, you will find this magic in music, this energy, this power that comes from striking these natural things like the cat gut against the wood, the drum, the animal skin being pulled across the top of a barrel, the wind instruments. You're blowing the breath of life through metals. Okay, it's an alchemical, magical experience. Playing the instrument and hearing the instrument both affect you on supernatural levels. That's why it's so hard to get songs out of your head and out of your mind. So now, I hope most of y'all, I don't have to convince of this, okay? But there is something beyond just striking notes. Again, we know that music is based off of mathematics. All of life is based off of mathematics. So you're manipulating math, time, space. You're manipulating the physical world, and you're manipulating vibration. We are all vibrations. If you looked at the Spell on Spelling video, you saw how we broke down the word per son, like per hour or per capita, per day, per diem. It means each or a. And son is where you get sonic for sound. So the Latin per son means a sound. You are a sound, a vibration. You have a good vibe, a good sound, or a bad vibe, a bad sound. People feel it. So when you touch the instrument, you are amplifying your sound energy by way of this natural material. This, of course, was when they used natural instruments, but we're going to get into why they don't anymore now. So, my brothers and my sisters who are making beats today and producing today, where we no longer use the catgut string guitar or even a guitar at that, and we use synthesizers. I maintain that it's called a synthesizer for some scurrilous reasons, but let's keep it simple. The synthesizer produces no vibration. Bang on a grand piano, baby grand piano, and stop banging. And after you're through banging on the keys, it will continue to ring. This is vibration. Now do it on your Korg Triton, or for me, I had an ASR 10. The vibration does not ring throughout the instrument because there is no vibration as we know it. So we've been given new instruments categorized under the synthetic sound. Again, synthetic sound. Ironically, the musician's secret order, the musician's frat, is Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia. And now you know symphony is spelled S-Y-M, but sinfonia is the root of symphony, and we see sinfonia spelled S-I-N, phonia. So again, you can break down that word using a little bit of spelling that we saw in the other videos about the spelling spell, and you can clearly see that that has to do with the sound of, or sin in the sound of the Most High, or God of sound and sin, all together. The Yah at the end, the God or God of, the phone for phonetic or sound, and the sin for breaking the law of the Most High. So even in classical music, you find the tritone or the devil's chord being used. So just because you're listening to instrumental music does not mean that you're escaping secular music or music of the world or music of the prince of this world, whom we know in simple terms as the devil or Lucifer. Now, bless you. Now, there is so much written about the devil in music. I refuse to be redundant, but I don't want to leave out certain things where people would be saying, well, why didn't you say this and why didn't you say that? So let's deal with the industry versus the natural thing. The natural thing is that you naturally want to play music because it's in you to do. Well, the world that we live in only gives you certain avenues to display that playing of music if you seek fame or fortune from doing so. Now, you can go out on the corner, you can go downtown in the square, and you can join your church band or choir, and you can play music as freely as you choose. However, when you decide you want to enter into the industry, you should know what you're getting into. The industry, as we know it, what we think is simply a business, is really a system set up for behavior modification and mind control. And it was set up by the CIA, some say as early back as the 40s and 50s. Now, if the CIA is itself set up by secret societies that predate the 40s and the 50s and even modern music as we know it, then we can make some assumptions that for a longer time than that, we've had magicians or sorcerers involved in the making of music. Again, I didn't finish the thought, I believe, about John Todd. John Todd maintained that in order to produce music in the 60s and 70s, since he was talking about Crosby, Stills, and Nash. In the 60s and 70s, you had to be an ordained witch. People say that KISS stands for Knights in Satan's Service, and that these were all men who were members of the satanic churches in California. Now, you can quarrel with that, but it's some things that you cannot quarrel with. And the bottom line is, you know enough about the music industry and its nature, especially if you play music, to know that there's something very sick going on in the music business. You've heard enough experienced musicians say this. You've heard enough music yourself that you know is questionable. You know the nature of the radio, which promotes music. So then, how are you going to enter into this system and remain untainted? So now you have to begin to make some choices. You have to be able to make some compromises to be a part of this business. That's the way that it's designed. It's designed to compromise your soul, your art, what you want to do. You enter the music industry wanting to do what you want to do, make music because it's in you to make it. But you end up becoming a part of a larger agenda. And you should know that that larger agenda exists. Look up Project Umbrella. Rihanna's song Umbrella, Ella, Ella, which was so annoying to me. I didn't know it at the time, but that was a Project Umbrella marquee song. And it was also accused of being one of the songs in which you find backward masking. Now, we know about backward masking, and you can say, well, hey, that's just some guys do to stir up the church or, scare the listeners or whatever. Again, we're talking about the power of sound, and the power of sound is used to move the spirit world. If you know anything about magic or demonology, or even if you're just acquainted with different things they say in religion, it is by your word that you move the spirits. People say, be careful what you say. Why? Who's going to hear it and do anything about it? Well, the spirit realm all around you, that's who. The same way you can say words to cause the spirits to move. Words are nothing but tones. You can play tones to cause the spirits to move. That's why we can't be so sure and careful about secular music just because we don't hear obvious cursing or obvious negative intent. The devil is more subtle than any of the beasts of the field, and to this day understands that subtlety is his best attack. He has two plans of attack: the male-oriented attack, the violent, aggressive Plan A attack, or the Plan B attack, where it's more subtle and demure and inconspicuous. Both are attacks. It's like the fox and the wolf. Either one will bite you. The fox will be more sly about it. Okay, so this is why you have the real strict holiness churches and real strict church mothers and real strict musicians of God who say no secular music, because something will at the end either produce negative power or positive power. So if you're promoting people's songs and posting it up on Facebook or playing it around children, you are pumping into them the energy that those musicians had in their own spirits, plus their combined energy as a group, and the energy of the system they are under, because nobody gets their record put out major without having it mastered. And there are only certain studios where you can get your stuff mastered. You can record at home all you want to. You can use Reasons and Fruity Loops and Cubase and Pro Tools. You can have your machines and you can make your music at home as much as you want, and it's only so much negative energy it's going to produce. But again, the people that make the machines make sure that it's tuned to the augmented fourths or the devil's chord or the tritone. They have altered the machines to where you're not playing the true notes that were played on instruments. This is one reason why the elders say when they hear the old school songs, they say, oh, it sounds so much better, it feels so much better. It does, because the assault on the body is different and not as bold and obvious as it is today. The plan back then was not to assault the body and cause one to recoil, but to soothe the body and ease the body. We call it mellow, smooth. The blues is what most, jazz, that's what most of our music is based off of. Love songs, things that creep on you, This is the way of deception. You cannot deceive if you say, hey, I'm about to do this. That's not deception. And that's the way today's music comes off, like, gruff and rough and obvious. And so you obviously know to run from today's music. Well, Lucifer is awful slick, and he ensured that he would make all of his music in some way or another detrimental to your mind, body, and soul. And most of the old music that I've gone down through, and I give a big shout out to Prophet Charlie, who we've been fellowshipping with, and who is an elder and a Caucasian, and he has exposed me to a whole new level of Luciferian songs. All classic songs, all pop music, whether it's 16 Candles or the Shy Lights, whoever we pick, it doesn't matter. All of these songs, if they're not dedicated to the Most High, if they're not dedicated to uplifting creation, they're dedicated to the most low or the destruction of creation. We found in songs as seemingly innocent as Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay, or Linda Ronstadt, Blue Bayou, or Temptations, I Wish It Would Rain, or Dr. Hook, Sylvia's Mother, or Dobie Gray, Drift Away. We found that these songs were Lucifer's depression songs. And that starts with the mind. The mind is at the top of your body for a reason. He assaults the mind first. The higher tones affect the upper parts of the body, the upper chakras, and the lower tones affect the lower parts of the body, the lower seats of energy. And chakras is just the Hindu word for the seats of energy in the body that do exist. Even medicine is coming into that reality. And when we do the next one, it's going to be on medicine, and we're going to go very hard into it. But just as those songs that I just named were all the same depression songs, Rocket Love by Stevie, Starship by Norman Connors, and Silver Shadow by Atlantic Star, all of these songs are the same. They are all songs dedicated to Lucifer as a star or a spaceship. The fact that he comes from out of this world, out of space. He came from outer space and landed. And so you have many songs that disguise him as an alien, where he's disguised as a woman through most music. We even heard it in Bernadette by the Four Tops. Then you have your really slick and clever ones, like the Doobie Brothers, What a Fool Believes. Inagata Davida, which was sampled by Nas for the Thief theme, which is about in the Garden of Eden. And Doobie Brothers, What a Fool Believes, is the same type of song, singing from the perspective of Lucifer from the Garden of Eden, trying to tempt Eve. So, song after song, what made it simple for me was when it rested finally on my spirit, and it was hard. I wrestled with it, and you may too. It finally wrestled on my spirit that if it's not uplifting the Most High, it's uplifting the most low. You can't have it both ways. You can't be lukewarm. It's only going to be one or the other. So that means all of the love songs, Crazy or Crazy on You by Heart, the love songs dedicated to a man or to a woman, where people is giving such divine love to a human person, to a material thing, these songs qualify. Bernadette, many love songs. Shalom.